Welcome back to We'll Shift Dust. The Silo awaits via the memory clinics of a near-future Washington, D.C. I'm Elysia, your book reading representative on this podcast.
And I'm Luke, representing the show OnlyFans. Elysia has written, I am the purveyor of tinfoil hat theories. I think they're very finely crafted.
Oh, okay. You called them half-warmed before, so now they're reaching a greater finesse
of a greater finesse of theorydom.
All right.
About where all this is going, and thus I am the fountain of all ignorance and must be guarded against book spoilers at all costs.
So welcome back, or if this is your first episode, you may want to start at the beginning of this season, or you can also start at the beginning of the entire series if you can stand a slightly lower audio quality. And there you will learn more about who we are and what we're each bringing to this discussion. But today we gather to break down episode 2 of season 3. It's all good. In my humble opinion, a summary of this episode overall. But before we get into it, just to put minds at ease, Luke, you teased it, but what is the full version of our spoiler policy for this pod?
So the full version of the spoiler policy is Elysia can mention anything in the books that has been on screen in season 1 or 2 or in episode 1 of season 3, but nothing that's been in the books that's beyond season 2 of episode 3. So in other words, anything that's already been shown on screen, Elysia can talk about. Anything that hasn't been shown on screen, Elysia can't talk about. And that includes scenes from the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to go back and listen to the 2 episodes we recorded before the season started for deep dives into the trailers and other marketing material that was released with the trailers.
And small notes, as always, that this show leaves a lot of room for speculation, even for book readers. So I promise we're not watching ahead of the episode we're recording, and any questions we ask are genuine. And if I can't discuss something because I think it's tied to a book spoiler, I will just move on. So if you do want the full spoiler discussion and deep dives into the intricacies of the book version of this story, I have a separate book club podcast with fellow reader Abby. Stick around until the end of this episode to learn more about that. But for now, we are getting into season 3, episode 2. It's all good. 52 minutes long again, released Friday, July 10th, 2026 on Apple TV. The director was, again, Michael Dinner, one of the main series directors who did season 2, episodes 1, 2, 6, and 7, and the first 3 episodes of this season. The writer this time was Shelley Bierce. This is her first writing credit for this series, but she will be back to write 2 more episodes next season. And I'll say she does have a lot of prior writing credits going back to the 90s, but I haven't personally seen them, so I can't comment on it, but I liked this episode. So, so far, so good. This is, of course, all based on the Silo series of books by Hugh Howey, the main trilogy being Wool, Shift, and Dust. This is the penultimate season of this series. There will be 4 seasons. And for these last 2 seasons, we're mostly mixing together the origin story of everything with that's in Shift, and also the continuation of the Juliet part of the timeline in Dust. So we're mixing back and forth between those 2. To set up this episode, in the DC timeline, Daniel learns about his sister's cutting-edge treatment with the help from some friends. And in Silo 18, Juliet seeks other truths on a memory hunt of her own. So, Luke, what did you think of this episode overall?
Okay, I really like this episode. I love what's going on with the family Billings. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. I like the interaction between Camille and the algorithm. I think that there's some interesting tension starting to build there. As far as the DC timeline, I think I said this to you on WhatsApp. I don't know whether this is the way it was written, or whether it was the way it was acted, or whether this was deliberate. But I find Daniel's reaction to the whole situation a little bit off, a little bit strange, in that when he finds out that his sister hasn't lost her memory has been taken from her. He seems to take that way more calmly than I would. Like if somebody had done that to my brother, I would be absolutely furious. And Daniel just seems to sort of go along
Hmm.
with what's happening, and it's actually Helen, the journalist, who is the one pushing for answers and questioning this whole situation. So yeah, I don't really know what that means, but I found Daniel's reaction to the whole situation to be very odd.
Hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, it seems that maybe Helen has in general more of a backbone than Daniel, perhaps.
Yeah, but that possibly, but yeah, it's just this is your sister. This is
Hmm.
your own. This is your only family that we know of in the world, and you seem to be very passive in reacting here.
I mean, I don't think that I entirely agree with that. For example, the way he came breezing in there once he heard that the reporter had snuck in and stuff. But okay, we will of course talk about that in detail. Any other thoughts you want to throw out at the top?
Yeah, how did we not notice that was Kathleen Billings last episode?
Because they intentionally obscured her face.
It's like, yeah, of course it was.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
completely missed that.
that explains, of course, why Billings is being squirrely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I think this is maybe the earliest one of my tinfoil hat theories bit the dust. Because within like 5 minutes of episode two, no, it's not. It's not that. It's not that she's been possessed by aliens. It's just that they've given her a load of memory suppressing drugs.
Oh. So it's a tinfoiling hat.
It's a D tinfoiling, yeah.
Okay. Um, I mean, we're burying the lead here. Obviously the headline is "Danny from IT lives."
So yeah, and we were talking about the episode on WhatsApp, and you put one of my favorite characters turned up, and I just put Danny question mark. And no, it's not Danny. It's not Danny. It's somebody else. But
No, yeah. Oh
yeah,
no, I mean, so for anyone who hasn't been listening to us before, I got stuck last season on what happened to Danny from IT, who helped Juliet with his hard drive, disappeared into judicial, never showed up again. Probably the actor we heard confirmed from Sal Kairos in the writers' room was just not available for that season, but he's back. So now I'm moving on. Where's Mark Chambers from Metal? The guy in the steampunk wheelchair.
oh
Don't worry, no matter what, I will find a missing character to obsess over. But
yeah.
the two times I've done it, in season one, it was Sandy. She was back this episode again as well. And Danny from IT. So obviously it's working. It's working. I'm helping them.
Yes.
But yeah, you said I mentioned that one of my favorite book characters showed up, and that's actually Victor. I love a morally complex psychologist, so I'm excited to see him, yeah, in the game now. And when we were talking about the castings in our preview episodes, and there's two older men, and I said, "Oh, I think I know which two characters there are," and I think one of them has kinder, sadder eyes. So, like, that's Victor. He's the one with kinder, sadder eyes. He's so perfect. Um, yeah, but I mean, in general, in this part of the timeline, this is where it is more sticking to the book, but it is still like so huge changes nonetheless, and it's changes that are clearly going the same direction for book readers. Like I can see where they're going, but uh, it's like they've moved up a lot of the action, I suppose, a lot of this grappling with the memory drug and things like that. So, and Victor's involvement. So, yeah, exciting stuff. Um, but by the way, this week I was noticing, and of course I know they film in London, but it's so funny to me that in interviews most of these actors have British accents, but they're doing great American accents. I'll say.
Okay, good. They're doing it well. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to throw out at the top?
Now I think we can get into looking at the individual plot strands.
All right.
Your regularly scheduled breakdown will begin in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so as usual, we're going to be going plot by plot rather than scene by scene. And today, focusing first on the Daniel Charlotte timeline before moving on to what's going on in Silo 18. So let's start with Daniel's world, filling in the gaps. Daniel, played by Ashley Zuckerman, visits his sister Charlotte, Jessica Brown Finlay, in the Heidi Stenson TBI clinic, filling Charlotte in on shared memories in the hopes of rekindling a spark of recognition, but she can't even get her brother's name right. Did you laugh when she called
Yeah,
him
I did.
Donald?
I was like, when they went Donald, I was like, Leo pointing me. Well, no, actually, it was a Captain America meme. I understood that reference.
So that was for in case anyone doesn't remember, that is his book name, and I think I'm getting better at it. But last episode, I could not stop calling him Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I'm hybridizing it. Daniel in the show, Donald in the book. So it was, yeah. She called him that, and it's like, no, but that's right. Oh wait, no, it's not. Oh, but yeah, so just the book version of this and the next section we'll talk about, I think it's sort of laid out. Like I said, they're moving a lot of Charlotte's stuff, forward more toward the beginning of the book, and expanding it. But I'll say both of these sections, I think, are especially based on this quote from Shift. I did read this and more from this, and I've altered this slightly to hide one spoiler. But from Shift about Donald, he remembered the last time she, meaning Charlotte, was home, the disagreement they'd had while going through his vacation photos from Mexico. He had asked Charlotte if she remembered Cozumel from when they were kids, and she had insisted she had never been. The disagreement had turned into an argument, and he had lied and said his tears were ones of frustration. Parts of his sister's life had been erased, and the only way the doctors could explain it was to say that it must have been something she wanted to forget. And what could be wrong with that?
Okay.
So you could see how they kind of took that and blew it up.
Yes.
But it's also, I can see where it's tying into where certain things are going. Yeah, but they gave them a different backstory here. They're raised by their aunt and uncle, 30 minutes outside Cartersville, view of the sunset over Pine Mountains, had horses, ducks, and goats, and 2 mean bulldogs who chased them home from the bus. Do you think, should their aunt maybe have put them on a leash?
Yeah, that doesn't sound particularly safe for the neighborhood kids, to be honest. And I did like Charlotte going, I don't sound like much of a sister.
Yeah. He said because apparently he became when he went to University of Georgia, he became the Bulldogs mascot. And he said, you laughed so hard you pissed yourself. And she said, I don't sound like a very nice sister. We saw that dynamic last week. So I'm so glad they took the time to establish that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question for you. I don't know, for some reason, him being the mascot and his whole vibe is reminding me in some ways of Billings. So I'm wondering, do you think he and Billings would be friends if he lived in the silo?
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's that same sort of very upright.
Yeah,
it's that same
upright,
sort of
yeah.
very upright, very follow the rules, very want to join in, do right, be part of the community, be upstanding. Yeah, I do think he and Billings would get on. Maybe they'd compete against each other in pack readings.
Yeah.
It might be a friendly rivalry going on there.
Well, I could also see, just thinking about it as you're talking, I was thinking, who would Charlotte be besties with? I'm like, Juliet, obviously, pre-memory loss Charlotte, obviously. Yeah. So, yeah, that's where we leave things with the siblings. We find out their mom's name was Grace. So I was wondering, is that named by the same person who named the character Hope? And
maybe just a little bit on the nose.
Their dad's name is William, and they died when they were young and moved in with their aunt. So I'm curious if we'll learn more about their backstory, but if not, that's fine. That's a solid enough backstory. All right, so let's bring Victor into the equation. When Daniel gets burnt by a glitchy coffee machine at the clinic, a man named Victor, how do we say this again? Kernkovich?
Yeah, Kernkovich, I think.
Kernkovich, played by Matt Craven, strikes up a conversation. And I'll say, by the way, Victor, I looked up every instance of his first name in the book, just in both the like last two books just to check, and they never mention his last name, so that's why I'm saying they
Okay.
never do.
Also,
um,
how often does Matt Craven play doctors? He seems to
I
have a
don't
very
know.
good side. He seems to have a very good sideline in playing doctors.
Can you give me another example?
He was actually the psychiatrist in the Pacific for a couple of episodes, and
Okay.
I've seen him in other things playing psychiatrists as well. So
Okay.
he seems
Oh,
to have
interesting. So
he
not
seems to
just
have a
doctors, but very
yeah,
niche.
very niche. Yeah.
I guess he's got the face for it.
Yeah, he does. Like you say, he's got sort of kind eyes.
Yeah.
He's a vuncula. He avuncles.
Yeah. I said like kind sad eyes. Yeah. Um But so he strikes up a conversation with Daniel, saying he's Charlotte's doctor, and they've been expecting Daniel. And Daniel shares his frustrations that his sister doesn't remember him, and Victor takes him outside for a chat about what's going on with Charlotte. And Victor says the medicine functions as a drawbridge between Charlotte's subconscious memories and her conscious cognitive processes. He calls it a safety gap, if you will. And if the medicine is used too long, this gap becomes permanent. But the plan is, once Charlotte heals a bit more, to lower this medication drawbridge and to go into her brain to selectively choose which memories to keep.
Yeah,
So, what do you
because
think?
actually, just to back up a second, before the conversation about the drawbridge, he
Hmm.
actually goes. So Daniel says something to the effect of, my sister doesn't remember everything, and Victor
Hmm.
says something to the effect of, I'm the reason. I'm
Yeah.
the reason why she can't remember. And that's what I find weird. Like it jumps straight from I'm the reason why to this is the explanation as to what's happening without Daniel going, sorry, what?
I mean,
This has been done deliberately?
there's a hard cut there where they are
Yeah.
suddenly outside. So
But
I definitely didn't trip over
yeah.
that at all. But
I feel like the scene is missing something.
oh, okay. I don't know. You wanted to see them walk outside so Daniel could react?
Yeah, I just wanted to like if somebody tells you that a close member of your family can't remember anything and that they're the reason why and that's being done deliberately, I would have expected like a scene where Daniel is shocked by that, is surprised by that.
Well,
And
I
we just seem
mean,
to skip straight over that.
but the whole next scene is that.
Not really. It's Daniel sort of it's Victor explaining to Daniel what he's done
Yeah.
but not really explaining why it was necessary in the first place.
Yeah, I guess it's because she's supposed to have a traumatic brain injury. So I suppose that's the explanation is that he said basically that as she gets better, this is when they'll ease off this and this is when they'll pick what to come back. But then he says some other things. So he says we were wrong in our assumption that it was not a selective functioning memory drug because it seems he says you can specifically choose it, but you choose it by which artifacts he calls them, which elements of smells and things you had as a
Yeah, so
youth.
the way I took that was it suppresses memory indiscriminately, but
Hmm.
you can sort of choose what memories to revive by the stories you tell and the objects you associate with them.
Yeah.
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 Which,
Hmm.
yeah, kinda. I'm not really sure that is how memory works, but yeah, kinda.
I mean, yeah, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a perfectly valid explanation, better than you would get in most science fiction. I would say is that because the important key here is that, and it's this exact same thing that I've been calling out. Obviously, what's going on with Charlotte directly tied with what's going on with Juliet. We'll talk about that separately in a minute, but it makes sense to talk about it together as well. And I've been saying with Juliet that I'm expecting her to, like with the chicken soup from that might remind her of eating soup with Jimmy in Silo 17, or like her brother's toy. We've already been shown that. I'm expecting that to show up and those things to function as these artifacts. And we've seen it with Juliet too, where she has the memories that come back. They come back because there's some sort of association trigger.
Yeah. But the question then is, do we think Charlotte actually has a traumatic brain injury?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, this part, like I said, this whole Charlotte being in the hospital and stuff, this is all new. So I really can't say either way, but yeah, I think that's a valid question.
because there's an obvious reason why you would want to suppress her memory, which is the weird 50,000 foot cloud and whatever it
Right.
was that was in it and the black goo.
Yeah.
So until somebody tells me otherwise, I'm assuming the TBI is bullshit.
Yeah, I had to laugh about the cloud because so right now the Vampire Lestat is going on. John and I are doing coverage of that over on the Lorehounds feed. Love that show. It's definitely it turns things up a notch from here in terms of like gore and sex and stuff. So be warned that, but I absolutely love it if you're open to that. But one of the characters last week called one of the other characters a fuck cloud, and everyone's like, "What is a fuck cloud? What does that mean?" And and then so when we saw this cloud in this, I said in the silo chat in the Discord, "Is this what a fuck cloud is?" And I think it was the TCS who responded, "I think this is a what the fuck cloud." Anyway. Yeah, but I was really into this whole conversation. Obviously, this is why I like Victor as a character. I find him interesting. What are your thoughts on Victor so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get to it in a little bit, but he's got a very shady past in terms of how he's developed this drug, this regimen, this protocol, whatever you want to call it. He seems like a nice person, but a lot of evil people seem, quite nice on the surface. I think a little bit like Bernard, he is capable of doing really bad things for what he perceives as the greater good.
Mm.
And yeah, I am kind of interested where he and Daniel as a relationship sort of go from here. But like I said, there's just, I don't know whether it was the way Ashley Zuckerman and played it or whether it was the way it was written. But I don't know. If it was, like I say, and maybe this is just I'm projecting too much onto this, if it was me and I'd find out that somebody had taken away any memory of me from somebody I was that close to, I would be angrier than Daniel is throughout the episode. And I thought it was a little bit strange.
I mean, if you're told that that's, like, suppose that someone you care about has a bad injury and you're told, we've induced a coma until the brain swelling goes down. Would you be angry about that?
Yeah, but it's like maybe I'm just overreading it, but it didn't seem like there wasn't an explanation that said she's got the TBI. We are doing this because of this. Like, how is this helping with the TBI? Surely you're making it worse.
I mean, yeah, maybe they should have said something like it helped, like while the brain's swelling. He did say until she is better enough, and we can see she's still pretty banged up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not tripping over that in the same way you are.
Okay.
I will say that the special topic of this week's book club is going to be about Victor's book arc. So we'll get into that there. But let's dig into some of the things that he said here because it's I think it's quite interesting. He talks about. I really like these. This is why I like Victor as a character. He's kind of a philosopher, which I suppose like goes hand in hand with being a psychologist. But he's talking about what's the difference between humans and apes. The difference is we tell stories. You take a set of data and weave meaning around it. I'm like, yeah, that's literally been my whole career.
Yeah, but whenever you get that in books or TV, I always think that's a little self-insert from the writer.
Yeah, sure, but it's also it is genuinely what makes humans that he says we're really just a collection of stories we've told ourselves. Memory is our internal biography. And I absolutely believe that. But also just we as a society are the collection of stories that we tell collectively. That's why we always say that the victors write history, or however that quote
I,
goes.
I think Westworld does that. Talks about that idea of memory and forgetting and just everything comes back to like season 1 of Westworld for me. Eventually, it's like it's been almost 10 years since that show aired, and since that season aired, and I still think about it way more than is healthy for me.
um, yeah, I actually somebody was just saying that, oh yeah, that the Vampire Lestat was the best thing since Westworld. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have paired those two, but yeah, okay, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
good character dramas. um, But okay, so Victor does say that, obviously he talks about getting Charlotte's memories back. He says you do it basically by telling her the same story over and over. And this is where he's like, you just need artifacts to bring back the old memories, these objects from her life, childhood. And I love that he says memory is in the body, not just the brain, because it is like memory is more than just uh drawers in our brain. It is like for instance, muscle memory. We were talking about how Billings has been holding his hands tightly and wondering if he still had the syndrome. And you're like, well, you have this muscle memory. That's also part of
Yeah.
it as well. So I love all the Victor stuff. um, the plan is to rebuild Charlotte memory by memory, and he says, but you have a choice not to cripple her with the whole truth. And this is where I'm like, Victor.
Vector.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this is, and obviously this is meant to be problematic, probably. But when we forget our mistakes, when we forget the bad things that happen to us, we do not learn from them and we do not grow from them. So I actually, what movie did this pretty well recently is The Sheep Detectives, which is like a way better movie than it looks like on the surface.
Okay, if I'd have had 10 guesses to say what you were going to say there, I wouldn't have got that.
If Sheep Detective Hive, Rise Up, you know what I'm talking about. It is about remembering things to honor them and also to learn from them. But so I think it's one thing for Victor to say this, because obviously we all know they don't want her to remember the what the fuck cloud.
Yeah.
But this is also where I'm like, I do think Daniel goes along with this a little too easily, but I don't think that's out of character for him. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad or a weak. It doesn't necessarily make him the strongest in that way, but
I think passive is the word I'd use.
yeah.
He's a passenger to this whole thing, and maybe that won't sustain throughout the series, because obviously, like, Daniel is processing a lot right now, and if somebody comes along and tells you, do this, do that, maybe that makes it easier. Because
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was just thinking that of another parallel between him and Billings is that I said also the same about Book Billings is a much more passive character until he's not. And Daniel, I think actually they have given him more agency in the show, perhaps in the book, because, for example, I said that in the books, he and Charlotte and the Thurmans are old family friends. So Senator Thurman basically, it's almost like he's handed his office in a way. Whereas in the show, he really had to do the campaigning and fight for it and didn't have that advantage. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they've been handing out more backbones to certain characters in the show. I was a little like icked when he was like, can I lie to her? I'd like to change some opinion she has about me. I'm like, I'm sure this is for exposition, but yikes.
Yeah, I don't think he was being entirely serious when he said it either.
No, I don't think so. And I think that was definitely for the audience benefit, because of course we want to know, we know Camille is lying to Juliet.
Yeah.
And basically, so what we learn here is that, yes, you can do that, but it does take more time and effort, because he says the real memories ignite faster because they're already on the page. So yeah, it takes longer to convince someone, to get them to internalize a memory that isn't natural.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I do think this whole choice of the word artifacts is interesting
Yes, was interesting.
because it almost sounds like relics, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
that was my thought. Like, did this get transliterated at some point?
yeah, because the relics are not a book thing, so I don't really know much about that. But you could see they are memories of the before times. Like, what is I don't know why the Pez dispenser, why it would matter anymore. Like we know it's 352 years into this system. Um, so yeah, the hard drive, obviously understand why that's a red level relic. Why is the Pez dispenser a red level relic? But it's a memory.
Yeah.
Hmm. What did you think about his addition of the thought of a soul? He said somewhere between the ones and zeros, basically, there's more, there's a soul. And so I'm like, is the soul actually this story we tell ourselves?
Yeah. I I, I think it probably is.
Hmm.
Um yeah. I mean, to what extent are we just walking bags of chemicals that are just
Right.
reacting to? But yeah, like I think ultimately this is getting a bit deep for a podcast about a TV show, but
I mean,
ultimately,
this is why people listen to us, right?
yeah,
Galaxy brain incoming.
galaxy. But yeah, ultimately, I think, um, I think the soul is the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, and also the stories also the stories that others tell about us as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. People always say like a person never dies until the last person who remembers them passes
yeah.
away.
They're going back to Westworld again, mate.
Well, okay. I think that's an older quote than that, but I actually didn't remember it was in Westworld.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, then this begs this question: like, what is the difference with? So we find out Juliet is part of this 10% where it doesn't seem to work so well, and Victor's tying this to this idea of the soul. But yeah, it's something about her stubborn and curious personality. Um, I don't know.
Also, I think as well in the case of Juliet, they are trying to they're not trying to bring back a set of memories, or they're not trying to bring back most of a set of memories. They are very much trying to implant a completely different story
Mm-hmm.
as to what's happened. So I was a little bit confused about that point because they're not trying to do exactly the same thing with Charlotte as they're trying to do with Juliet. I don't think.
No,
Like,
no, no. They're not trying to. They're just trying. Yeah, I mean, but I
yeah,
think that that's okay. That I think we're dealing with the same concept, and we're learning through this discussion about Charlotte some of the rules. But yeah, but it's being used for different purposes because I do think Victor wants Charlotte to remember everything except that
yeah.
one thing.
That one thing. Whereas I think what the algorithm is trying to do with Juliet is to a large extent rewrite her personality. Because there
Yeah.
was there was that whole thing last episode with Shirley pointing out, she would never have been seen dead in a dress. She would never have been seen dead in a
Right.
dress. Like the algorithm needs Juliet to play a very specific role within very specific parameters if the whole plan is going to work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, just last thing I just wanted to call out in this section is that there were some really lovely shots in this garden. It's just a great setting for a number of scenes this episode. And I loved, for example, this shot where the camera's like almost floating over the pond as Victor and Daniel talk on the bench in the distance.
Yeah.
So bravo to that. All right, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, let's talk about Daniel's next not date. Be right back. All right, the three-way not date. Daniel meets Anna Thurman, played by Morgan Christie, the senator's daughter, at a coffee shop to discuss what's going on with his sister. Anna asks if it's okay with Daniel if she goes to check in on Charlotte herself. As he acquiesces, former Post reporter Helen Drew, Jessica Henwick, wanders in looking for him. She's heard about his sister, Helen's original contact in the Keene family, and gets Daniel to tell her where Charlotte is being treated. When she leaves, Anna points out that he just gave a reporter the location she needs for her story. For free. What did you think of this whole interaction?
Yeah, Daniel, even for a junior congressman, Daniel is sort of endearingly guileless. Yeah. And it's like, but also as well, I think this just goes to show that Daniel is not thinking straight. I think, and we do this when people are ill. It's very easy to focus on Charlotte's trauma because she's the one in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, Daniel has basically lost, or functionally lost, the only family he had in the world. And I think I don't think had Daniel been like firing on all cylinders, had Daniel been really focused, he would have spoken to Helen like that. But he's not. That's not what he's thinking of at the moment. Yeah.
I love how he describes it to Anna. He says, he, meaning Victor, is asking me to rebuild her soul, and he compares himself to Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
There is something kind of ghoulish about it.
But yeah, and nobody points out that the doctor's name is Victor.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Good catch. So it turns out both of these ladies would like to visit Charlotte. And with Helen, it's clear. We'll talk about that scene separately in a moment. Obviously, she wants to do journalism. But what do you think about Anna wanting to visit her? Like, do you think she says she wants to bring candy and magazines to a wounded vet? And it's like, well, why this particular wounded vet? Is it because you're like, it's the least that I can do since, my mom and I helped put her in this clinic? Or what do you think her motivation is? She's trying to impress Daniel?
No, I think she's trying to find out whether she remembers anything. I think Senator Thurman knows something about this cloud, this whatever that is. And they want to know what she remembers, if she remembers anything at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that Helen and Anna, we find out they know who each other are in a professional capacity, but this is apparently their first meeting. And Anna says Helen left the paper, a year ago because she was a bad girl and is at some online sleaze factory now. I'm like, tell me everything. What did Helen do?
I assume we're going to find that out as the series goes on.
Yeah, they tease like that for sure. But also, what do you think of the relationship between Helen and Anna? Do you think they're going to? It feels adversarial. Do you think it's going to stay that way? Do you think?
Well, I mean, in a sense, it's sort of pre-programmed to be adversarial. Helen's a journalist. Anna is a politician.
Works in politics.
Yeah, works in politics. So they're predisposed to be adversarial. And again, I think we're going to find out as the series goes on that Helen knows more than she is telling Daniel about what is going on in Iran and what is not going on in Iran, and that Charlotte may not be her only source of information. I just the way Jessica Henwick is playing Helen, the way she's playing Helen, I just think she knows more than she's telling she knows more than she's telling the audience.
Okay, yeah.
And I do like the I am a serious journalist at a serious newspaper, therefore I must wear a trench coat.
I didn't even notice.
To signify that I am a journalist.
Okay, fair. I liked, we talked about Daniel being a bit guileless, and here he is again. He's like, Helen and I accidentally ended up on a date. I'm like, oh, Daniel, no, stop. She's like, no, it wasn't. It's like, stop telling yourself that, Daniel. So did he think he was on a date with Anna at the coffee shop?
No, I don't think so. I think they just ran into each other. It
seems like they met to talk about Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What does he think is a date and what doesn't he think is a date?
Someone's going to have to sit Daniel down at some point and explain the difference.
Wait until someone tells you it's a date. Oh. Yeah, and of course, Anna's mom, the senator, as we said, pulled strings to get Charlotte into this clinic. And we hear from Helen, wow, someone must have pulled some serious strings. I can't imagine a naval aviator would have that kind of money tucked away. But then they point out, Anna points out that Dr. Cernkovich has been treating combat veterans free of charge for years, which it's like, oh, that's generous or very sinister test subject situation.
Yeah. I mean, I took that as being really sinister. I took that as massive red flag.
Yeah. And then we learn some more about Victor that starts to be like a little, that his first trial of this memory drug was on prison patients in countries too indebted to the U.S. to say no, according to Helen. Second was on, what are DoD recruits? Department of Defense?
Yeah.
Okay. Recruits who don't get a say in their medical care. And in both cases, they receive total memory wipes. And then I have here the Anna propaganda is he let traumatized combat vets forget the horrors that they saw. He let career criminals forget that they were criminals and become productive members of society.
Yeah, anytime I hear the phrase productive members of society, run for the hills.
I mean, it's also, I don't, like, he made criminals forget that they were criminals. I don't think that that's how it works. Like, maybe give criminals a stable, secure situation where they don't feel like they have to resort to crime. That's probably the best way to stop people from committing crimes. But anyway.
Did you ever, back in the 90s, did you ever watch a show called Babylon 5?
I am aware of it, but I never watched it.
There was a subplot in that because one of the things in the universe is that telepaths exist.
Okay.
And so there was a subplot in that where the punishment for capital crimes was a mind wipe. So you weren't killed, but your entire psyche was deleted and a new one was put in place that would be very focused on service and doing good deeds. And there's a really good episode called, I think it's season 3, called Midnight in Gethsemane, where the whole premise of the episode is this guy is a serial killer, but he has had his mind wiped. He is now living on the Babylon 5 is a space station. He's now living on the station with a colony of monks that have sort of set up a little monastery in the space station. And he is basically the families of the victims find this guy and try to get him to remember what he did. And in the end, he kills himself. And the episode closes with the ringleader of this group of families taking his place as a monk because he's had his mind wiped.
Okay.
So it just made me think of that.
We also find out, by the way, that Daniel's constantly worried about his fighter pilot sister, which I'll say is pretty book accurate. But I do wonder also if that makes him feel empathetic for, I don't know, what do you think about, we got this backstory drop for Victor that he lost his wife and child in a car accident when he fell asleep at the wheel, which I know situations where that's happened, and it's just one of the most devastating things that can happen. But on the other hand, how is that related to the memory stuff?
Well, is that Victor wanting to spare people the pain he's going through,
or did he make himself forget his story?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Or is it that he wants to forget his own story?
I mean, but that's the thing. It's like if you're known publicly, I guess you can forget the emotional experience of it. So perhaps you have a duller response to it, but it's publicly known that this is what happened.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. It definitely makes him a sympathetic but complex character as well. All right. So let's bring the section to a close with Helen's visit. Helen sweeps into the Stenson clinic, pretending to be Daniel's harried assistant, there to check in on his sister for him and take her for a walk. She's honest with Charlotte that she's a reporter, but also tells her that Charlotte wanted to work with her before she lost her memory. She reminds Charlotte that something was bothering her about the mission to Iran. Charlotte has flashes of memory of a meeting with Helen in a car in the rain. After this, she is too shaken to continue. Meanwhile, a man, played by Reed Birney, watches them through a window with a stoic expression. Cut to Daniel swooping in, alerted to the unauthorized visit from Helen, who now waits under guard as Victor tries to help calm Charlotte down. Daniel confronts Helen, who says she was only doing what pre-memory loss Charlotte wanted, reminding Daniel that it was Charlotte who came to her and Charlotte who set up their non-date from the end of season 2. And Helen asks Daniel if Charlotte was right to send her to him for help.
Was the guy Reed Birney, the guy that was looking at? Was that the guy on the subway train, or am I imagining?
Sure was.
Okay.
Yeah, so episode 1, for anyone who forgets, when Charlotte thought she was being followed, that was the guy.
Okay.
So, I mean, we don't know what character he's playing yet. I have a suspicion. We'll see, especially seeing him at this clinic with Victor. But yeah, that's also why after that I was like, yeah, I recognize that guy. I'm pretty sure she's actually being followed. I thought, I also have a journalism background. So again, loved Helen's. Part of what I do is help people get their stories straight. And it's like, you're right. A journalist would have a good structured way of helping someone dig into their memories. So it's actually, she could be really helpful in this regard.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that she brought up asking about if there are military visitors, hoping she'll vomit up something of value. And she said, no, there isn't. And I wonder if it's A, maybe they're coming later, or B, if they're being kept away, or C, if they're like on the board and,
Yeah.
And yeah, she says no, it's just Daniel hovering over her, hoping she'll remember him. And that's got to be, from her perspective, like she wakes up and suddenly there's this guy there. It's like, you know me? You know me yet? Like, no, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I just can't make my brain do what you want it to do right now. I don't know. What do you think about the Iran discussion and the questions as laid out in this section? Like, do you think the question comes up again? Was the dirty bomb attack on DC even real?
Yeah. Which I'm still sticking with. I'm still sticking with my tinfoil hat theory from last episode that no, it wasn't. And the Geiger counters are actually checking for exposure to the goo that we saw in episode 1.
Okay. We also learned, or we have confirmed at least, that not all Iran missions were related to the nukes. Charlotte's was going to the mountains next to Turkmenistan in planes loaded with bunker busters and comms units replaced with an older system from the 80s. Helen says she thinks it's for security reasons, and then says they might as well be flying Tomcats. So I'm going to need you to walk me through a couple. Let's start with bunker busters. What exactly does this mean?
Well, exactly. It means exactly what it says on the tin. It means a bomb large enough to be able to penetrate, a bunker to be able to penetrate. And particularly in the case of what we're seeing in Iran, oftentimes what the Iranian regime has done is build bunkers or other structures into the sides of mountains or other geographical functions. So what you actually need is a bomb that has multiple different. It's basically, if you can imagine that thing where you put like a chicken inside of a turkey inside of a duck,
A turducken
kind of thing. Yeah, it's where you basically have multiple bombs inside the same thing, so that it will penetrate all the way through to the bunker that you actually want to destroy.
Okay. Okay, and then so a Tomcat, that's, I guess, like a really simple jet?
Okay, so F-14 Tomcat is the plane that Tom Cruise flies in Top Gun.
Okay. And so it's a really simple plane?
It's not really simple. It's
Okay.
really old.
Okay.
It was brought into service in the late 1970s, sort of phased out in the early 2000s. Actually, the only country that still flies them, ironically, is Iran.
Oh, okay.
Because it had a bunch delivered just before the Iranian Revolution, so back when the Shah was in charge. So yeah, the only air force in the world that still flies them is the
Okay.
Iranian Air Force.
All right. And so, yeah, they replaced the comms units with an older system from the 80s because, Helen's like, yeah, you don't want it to be all connected to the cloud or whatever, for security reasons. But then it is interesting that, and again, all this plane stuff new, but it is interesting that the silo computers, etc., also seem to be
See, from the 80s. Yeah, that occurred to me as well. Not networked as well is the key part of that.
Yeah.
Small thing, but I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
The US would not be flying search and rescue out of Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is one of the world's oddest dictatorships, but they take their neutrality extremely seriously.
It said next to Turkmenistan, though.
Yeah,
but they rescued Charlotte. But I guess they would rescue someone, right?
It's like I say, it's neither here nor there. But yeah,
okay.
Turkmenistan, they take isolationism very, very seriously.
Yeah. But it does sound that I think this confirms everything that we heard Senator Thurmond tell Daniel. So I guess she's been honest with him about everything with Charlotte thus far.
Up until a point, yeah.
Yeah, as far as we know, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Helen says the rest of Charlotte's squadron is dead, or are they? No, I don't know. Probably. But.
Probably, yeah. we did see several planes blow up. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So the question is, why not Charlotte? Was she just lucky, or is there something more? Was she saved somehow, and how would that work? Or were the other ones killed?
Was she the only one that touched the goo?
I don't know, because they were all, the others were saying
the others talked about it, but did they
said
actually
it's on our
it?
instruments? But I guess she touched it because she reached out and physically touched it, right?
Yeah.
Like she made a choice.
She actually went. I'm reaching through the screen here. She actually went and touched it and sort of played with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. And put on her fingers and looked at it. And I suppose the others said it was on their instruments, but that doesn't mean that they touched it.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. And then, Helen proposes that Charlotte was brought here for an intentional memory wipe. Like, oh, thank God for you, Helen.
For I am a serious journalist, for I am wearing a trench coat.
I mean, she's asking questions. It's important we have the character that asks the questions.
The thing is as well, there's something about the way Jessica Henwick delivers the stuff that you don't go, duh. Mm-hmm. There's something about her delivery is earnest enough that you don't go. The part of your brain that wants to go, well, duh, just doesn't.
Well, I think that's also why it's important that Daniel is somewhat less inquisitive in contrast, because it gives her the opportunity to say these things, and he's like, oh, you think?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to switch to the Silo 18 timeline. All right, let's talk about some not-so-secret notes. Picking up right where episode left off, Juliet, Rebecca Ferguson, is burning the note she received in her food as instructed when she receives a knock at her door. She hastily puts out the small flame and pockets the remaining paper, opening the door for Camille Sims, played by Alexandria Riley, who says she's just checking in on her way home and questions the smell of smoke inside. Juliet lies, claiming it was burnt pizza. On her own again, Juliet compares what's left on the note with the handwriting on other notes in her possession, trying to find a match. This triggers a fuller version of the memory triggered by Orla's "we're good in supply" comment at the council meeting last episode. A memory of Shirley, Remy Milner, delivering Martha's, Harriet Walters, note to tip her off that the outside suit would be sealed with the good tape. Meanwhile, the algorithm tells Camille that the note is not of great concern itself, but the fact that Juliet lied about it is. Juliet's dream indicates that she is still harboring some memories in her subconscious, so the algorithm tells Camille to double her forget drug dose and tighten her security detail to make sure that Camille is the only person shaping her memories for another 2 weeks. So yeah, Juliet clearly has forgotten the cameras. But that's the thing. They're talking about the cameras at the council meeting, but I guess Juliet believes Sims when he's like, oh, no, not in private residences.
Yeah, no, they're only the ones necessary for public safety.
Which, of course, and then he'll be like, well, the public safety depends on the safety of the mayor, right? Yeah.
But, I said this last episode, and maybe I'm overthinking this, and maybe I'm going to be made to seem very silly. But the algorithm's voice sounds like Daniel to me.
Okay, so let's lean into this. 352 years. What do you think? How do you think that came about to be such?
I don't know. Maybe because we know Daniel designed this drill, and presumably this drill is going to be important in constructing the silo.
Yeah.
So,
or they just think we have a fetish for drills.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, what if like Daniel's involvement in the design of the silo was to, what if he was one of the people that came up with the original pact and the original order, and so I don't know, kind of lent his cognition, his understanding, or that the algorithm was based off of his.
But what special skill in that regard do you think he brings?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm probably just way overanalyzing this.
No, this show deserves to be overanalyzed.
It sounds like maybe it's just they wanted to save on getting an extra actor in, so they just got Ashley Zuckerman to do it. But it just sounds like Daniel to me.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, so echoing again what we talked about in the other part of the episode, the algorithm says the medication can only erase what was, but if she does not trust the new narrative, we have a very different problem. And so apparently the algorithm told Camille that Juliet's memory reset would only take a month or two, and it's been more than 3 now. And the algorithm says 352 years of data, 6 silos have successfully undergone full resets, including Silo 18 140 years ago, and that's the whole Salvador Quinn era that we explored last season that led Lucas to the door and all that. Luke, what do you think a reset entails?
Well, we kind of know a bit about it. It's the memory suppression. It's the memory suppression drugs in the water that Bernard talked about last season, but it's also it must also be about being able to spin a convincing story about the nature of the silo and why everybody is there, kind of thing. And I just wonder, like, okay, Juliet is particularly resistant to this memory suppressing drug. Fair enough. But there are 10,000 people in the silo. And as we'll see at the end of the episode, there are 4 barrels of this vitamin D plus that they're going to put in the water. So, like...
But I guess if it's concentrated...
Yeah. I'm just thinking, because, again, and this is just going back to last season, Bernard kind of implies that it's not like one big bang, everybody wakes up one morning and they can't remember. Right. Like, the memories fade over time. So yeah, are we going to start... So, say by episode 7 or 8 of this season, are we going to see, I don't know, Knox or Shirley not being able to remember stuff, or will we
Mhm.
start to see the effects of a reset towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, so on the timeline, they said 3 days last episode, and this episode was another day. I wonder if they're all going to be like one day like that on the Silo 18 timeline. But
Yeah,
anyway, that means there's 2 days left. So we'll see what happens over presumably the next 2 episodes then.
yeah,
It is interesting. So the algorithm said this stuff about the resets, that 6 silos have successfully undergone it. Um, the 6 silos successfully underwent it. That begs the question: how many
yeah,
were not successful? And what is like this we heard also there's this reset that this apparently putting this stuff in the water, but then there's also something they called last season the safeguard, and that seems to be what caused Jimmy's silo 17 to die.
yeah. So presumably the same. We kind of inferred last season that the safeguard is what happens when when a rebellion succeeds in the silo, but also is it what happens when a reset doesn't successfully take place? And also another question for: are there any silos in which a reset hasn't been necessary? That have just been going on for 352
Um,
years,
I
just
mean,
blithely carrying on.
I hope so, because that would mean that would mean if only 6 of them successfully underwent them, then that would mean that 44 was
Yeah,
dead already. So I hope so.
yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting. The algorithm did not say this many failed and whatever, or
Yeah.
had.
But I mean also like Silo, we know that Silo 18 has undergone not one reset, but it's undergone multiple
Well, they went through
resets.
multiple revolutions, and they were having revolutions about every 20 years. And this is something Hugh Howey's talked about. This does come from the book, where he just had this idea that like every generation has to have their own revolution because we keep forgetting, get it, the generation before, and we're not learning from
Yeah.
our mistakes. And so then the idea was like, well, what if they really truly forgot the option of revolting, or what upset them in the first place, and that's held them for 140 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we also hear again sometimes individuals are targeted, as we obviously see happening with Juliet, and in rare cases some outliers are more immune, and that fits with the 10% that we heard in the Victor conversation. And now Camille has to somehow keep Juliet under constant surveillance while also convincing her that she's her only friend or most trusted ally. Like, yeah, that's an awkward. Like, I'm going to be really uncomfortable and up your ass, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're best friends, right? I don't know.
We're best friends. I'm not going to let you out my sight at any point. I'm going to be incredibly clingy slash borderline stalker. Well, not borderline, just flat out stalkerish behavior. But yeah, we're besties.
And threaten your guards if they don't do the same. Yeah.
But also like there's a great bit of back and forth between the algorithm and Camille. I can feel your frustration, Camille.
Like, oh, I want to punch you in your computer face.
Yeah, I want to punch you in your inanimate face.
In your monitor.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our boy Billings. A new pact. Sheriff Paul Billings, Chinaza Uche, is at work editing the text of the pact when a deputy, Brian Law, knocks on the door to tell him he has a visitor. It's the sister of Orla, the shadow of the head of supply. Sheila Kent, Celine Arden, is concerned that her sister has gone missing after not stopping by her place last night, as she does every night after her shift, a deal Orla made with their aging parents. Billings messages Carla McLean, head of supply, to ask her if she has a status on Orla. And then I'll just say now that at the end of the episode, we get a reply that no Orla.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I'm like, Orla, I said to her last episode, she didn't listen to me, but I said, Orla, tell your boyfriend the thing, because as soon as you say, I'll tell you when I get back, you're not coming back.
Yeah, I mean, have you well, I was going to say if you never watched the movie, but no, you actually haven't ever watched the
Fair
movie,
enough.
so it's fine.
This
But
is
yeah,
why you need to learn things, remember things.
exactly.
Movies are memories.
So I guess the question that comes up is the more sort of plot satisfying point would be she'd found out what was in those barrels, but that's pretty unlikely. Um, I mean, my working theory at the moment is she's gotten a bit too close to whatever the corruption scandal in the mines is, and she's buried in a mine shaft
Well, we
somewhere.
know that she was going to investigate. She thought she said there were there were things disappearing from critical supply, and she had a suspicion that they were being moved at night through this construction project on the stairs, which I guess they would have to be depending on where
Yeah.
they're going. And so she was going to investigate that. So I don't know. Do you think she's okay? Do you think she's being held hostage or a willing hostage or dead?
I just suspect. I don't think she is a sympathizer with the outsiders, with Patrick Kennedy's
Mm,
group, but I just have a suspicion that like she's gonna that they are gonna run into each other at some point.
Patrick Kennedy and Orla.
Yeah, because I
Mm,
think the thing that's going missing in critical supply has traces back to the outsiders, to Patrick Kennedy's group.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like who else would be taking supplies? And we saw like they had quite some tunnel making going
Yes,
on.
they were doing
Yeah.
their best impression of the Great Escape going on there.
And where's her boyfriend with his dog? Isn't he concerned as well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't know what the domestic arrangements are. She's only been missing for like a day, so
Yeah, but I mean, he would be helpful because he could at least say, "This is where she said she was going."
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel yeah. So her sister was like, "I can't lie to my parents that she stayed at my house again." So I guess her parents are going to find out tonight that Orla is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So about Billings, at the beginning of the scene, we see him working on the pact, and I do think that he was working on. I tried to pause and look, but I'll say that there was like this extremely narrow focus that made most of the page blurry. But I do think he was working on a page that was about restricting people with the syndrome and changing that. Um,
Okay.
did you think I was trying to pay attention, and I could go either way? Was his hand shaking ever so slightly as he held the paper?
Okay. Not that I could see, but I wasn't really paying. I wasn't really paying that close of attention. So
Okay. I
yeah.
thought it wasn't I thought it was a little bit, but not nearly as much as it used to before he went to the down deep and it seemed to stop for at least a
Yeah.
while. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still keeping an eye on it. Still keeping an eye on it. All right. It's time for some reluctant reunions. As Juliet sweeps out of her apartment, attempting to go to the meeting place indicated on the note, Deputy Jerry, Lee, and Akpan trails after her, reminding her that Camille asked them to log her visits more formally today. Juliet asks Teddy, Olatunji Aofi, and Knox, Shane McRae, to let her across the gap in the stairs, saying she wants to see Martha Walker. But Knox says she went to level 60 for medical supplies and should be back soon. While they wait, Knox asks for a private conversation, much to Deputy Jerry's chagrin. He tells her that Shirley remembered something about Bernard Holland, Tim Robbins, after Juliet asked her about him in the last episode. Lucas Kyle, Avi Nash, came downstairs during the rebellion saying he was Bernard's shadow and he knew Juliet, and that he knew that Juliet's camera footage from her walk outside saw her going inside another structure, and that Shirley took him to the digger void where he was looking for something at the bottom. Walker shows up then and takes Juliet for a coffee. Deputy Jerry, reluctantly in distant tow, and Juliet tells Martha about the note she received in her soup to go to the marketplace at 2 to find out the truth. And she tells her that she remembers Martha's note when she was sent to clean, making Juliet inclined to trust her. Martha tells Juliet that she always trusted her own gut and is usually right. Reminding her that she is stubborn, Juliet decides she will go.
Also, love the line, two coffees hold the flattery.
Yeah. I love, Martha, when they first opened the cafeteria line, she can wait like the rest of us. So she's always keeping Juliet down to earth.
Yeah.
I love, and Juliet's response is, "Why did I spend so much time with you?" But I will point out, Martha in this scene, she gives Juliet her multi tool back, another memory artifact.
Did Juliet pick it up?
I don't think she left it. Maybe we didn't see her in frame pick it up, but she definitely
Okay.
took it. Yeah, I would say. How do you feel about poor? We'll talk about Deputy Jerry, especially the next part. But he's got, like, it feels like he gets the toughest jobs guarding in the silo.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. Yeah, what with Sims and the Peanut Gallery last season, and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Bernard in the suit. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a hereditary thing. You know, there was the family last season who was in charge of making the wool.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I wonder whether, like, Deputy Jerry, like, they come from a long line of sheriffs who were sent to guard people. Sent to guard people.
um, I do think we saw growth in him in this episode alone. I think we saw some major growth, and it's
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
I think, like, I'll say, I'll put him on the Juliet end of the Simsnard scale. He seems trustworthy.
Yeah, he's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, he's just scared of Camille Sims, but who isn't?
And who wouldn't be?
Yeah, this whole thing with Shirley. So we see Juliet passes Shirley complaining to her team that they don't have enough rebar to fix the stairs. And there is a sort of eye contact because now Juliet's also had this memory of Shirley handing her, these hush puppies in the tin with the note and all that. So she also knows in some part of her Shirley's one to trust, but Shirley's still not handling it well, and she just runs away and hides. And Knox is like, "Shirley, talk to Juliet. Juliet asked you for help," and she's just like, "I can't. Do you understand her?"
I've always been kind of against the idea that Shirley and Juliet were in a romantic relationship at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting to rethink that after this episode
Okay.
because, yeah, the way Remy Milner has played it for the last couple of episodes, this is more. I think this reads more like unrequited romantic
Yeah, you think?
affection than
Because I
than
was thinking Sherlock's was definitely looking on.
I think it. I think it is. I think both. I think both things can. I think both things can be true at once. I mean, bless him. Knox may be the most sensible person in the asylum.
Yeah, you think? I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm still mad at him for turning in Juliet in season 1.
Oh, I'm not saying he's always right. I'm just saying him and Walker are like the solid, common sense, no nonsense. Let's get the job done. Core of like the silo.
Yeah, Juliet says to Knox, "I have this feeling we didn't really see eye to eye," and he said, "We did all right." I don't know. How would you characterize their relationship? I was like, when she said that, I was like, "What? You guys are best?" Well, no, it's true. You do
No,
argue
it's
about
true.
things.
Yeah, I think they are besties, but you know, in
Mm-hmm.
every close friendship, there's going to be some arguments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we hear also, I guess this is an important tidbit. Camille has been telling them all, giving them instructions on how to talk Juliet to not fuck up her recovery. So that's probably in Shirley's head as well. Like, oh, I have to, like, follow some weird protocol with my best friend since childhood.
Yeah, and Shirley doesn't do well with following rules.
No, no.
No.
I'm glad Knox is definitely being the go-between here, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Dude, Juliet, Shirley was camped outside your hospital room for days when you were sick, and then you
Yeah.
just ignored her, and that crushed her." And it's like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that would hurt. That would
Hmm.
definitely hurt.
Um, Shirley talking about the not having enough rebar to fix the stairs. Like, I was saying last episode, I thought maybe Orla thought that Shirley was stealing stuff because she talked about that's how she's moving it. But
I
I
thought
don't
that
think it's Shirley personally, but maybe Orla does.
I thought the she in that sentence referred to the head of mines daughter that used to be in supply but has now gone
Oh.
back to the mines.
Oh, you think that okay. You think that the corruption thing might be involved with her stealing from
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I understood it anyway.
Okay, all
Or
right. So
I put it this way: I think that's what Orla thinks.
okay. Well, we still haven't met Ed Harwood's daughter Glenda, so hopefully soon. Also, all signs this episode are pointing toward Lucas. And lots of talk about Lucas this episode. Might even see him soon. We did have a flashback.
Look, you got Danny in one episode. Like,
I did. I did.
How much more do you
I'm
want?
greedy.
Yeah.
All right, let's tuck into some market mayhem. Juliet and her watchdog, Deputy Jerry, enter the marketplace, people gawking at Juliet as she passes, including those fangirls who traded her brother's toy for a sheriff's badge in episode 1. When Juliet asks for 30 minutes of space, Deputy Jerry tells her that he's too afraid of Camille to allow that to happen. So Juliet sicks her fangirls on him, pretending that he touched her inappropriately, allowing her to slip away. But one of the fangirls, Evelyn, Kaja-chan, peels off to follow Juliet. Juliet is soon gathered up by her former assistant Sandy, Chipo Chung, who is disguised in riot gear, and taken to a back room where Patrick Kennedy, Rick Gomez, and Danny Bly, Will Merrick, await. They, of course, all have to remind her who they are, the guys she forced to help her hack into the hard drive to see the video from George in season 1. They, of course, saw the video of the Jane Carmody cleaning showing the green world outside with the V of flying birds, and thus they believe that video to be real. And Juliet doesn't remember that it's not. So they ask her why she's been, quote unquote, lying about the outside and show her 2 helmets. The one they stole from IT in episode 1, labeled 18, and the one Juliet wore on her walk back home, labeled 17. The latter gives her flashes of memory of Solo, Steve Zahn, handing her that helmet in the other silo. They ask her about the sign she held up, Sandy saying that she could tell it wasn't Juliet's handwriting. So they brought up that sign you've been asking about.
Yeah. So I didn't have a chance to go back and watch episode 10 of season 2 prior to recording this. So am I right in thinking it was Solo that wrote the sign?
It was the kids, if I recall.
Oh, it was the kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But I am glad that they brought up the sign and they're not just completely ignoring that was there because yeah, that was bugging me. And it's like this whole scene is so frustrating because they're so close to getting it. They're so close to understanding a bit more about what's really going on, what's actually happening, that there are multiple silos. And they just can't quite get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a big leap, you know? It's like, can you imagine? It's like, there's multiple Earths. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is everything. Oh, I felt really bad for Deputy Jerry here, and we'll get to it, but I'm glad Juliet apologizes later. That was not cool of her, but also...
it was necessary. It was necessary.
Yeah. I love when they go through the marketplace. I like the way that, good production design, set decoration, all of that. I do wish they called it the bazaar, but that's just because, so the Hope character in the books is an 8-year-old named Elise. And obviously she grew up in a dead silo. So when she learns about the existence of the bazaar in silos that are not dead, she calls it the bizarre, like strange bizarre. Oh, it was cute to have an 8-year-old. Hope Benny gets some cute lines instead.
Okay.
Anyway, no Silo 17 yet.
No, not yet.
There's a person with a hurt wrist waiting outside the meeting spot, and it's Kathleen.
How did we not work that out last episode? Like, I was literally sitting there kicking myself because, like, yeah, like all of this. Well, Billings is being weird. Billings is not doing very much. Of course, that's why Billings isn't doing anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
Yeah,
figured I didn't I thought maybe Billings was, like, directly working with someone, not necessarily Patrick Kennedy, I don't know. But, yeah, no, it makes sense it would be Kathleen, yeah.
yeah,
She's been activated by the book and by that flash of green in the screen, yeah. And I have to say about, there's been a lot of bitching online about Juliet's memory loss storyline, and I think people are just like immediately like, ugh, I just hate amnesia storylines. It's like, first of all, it is very relevant to the overall story, I'll say. And I think this episode starts to illustrate why. So I hope we're recording
yeah,
this before the episode comes out. So I hope that it will be well received. But I realize it's also from a storytelling perspective, it's handy that this is an excuse to remind viewers who is who and what is what, because I know a lot of viewers didn't rewatch the prior seasons and they're like, who are all these people? So here they have an excuse to tell the main character, like, you don't remember me and this thing we did
yeah,
together at the end of
yeah.
season one?
I get where I agree with you, but I do get where people are coming from. Particularly that we've already had a season last season where Juliet was wandering around a silo trying to solve puzzles.
I
Like
mean, she lives in a silo. Where else is she going to wander?
that's true, but like it's true, and like I think well I've sort of touched on this before. I think it's a real credit to the writing, and it's a real credit to Rebecca Ferguson as an actor. And also, I think if this, because this is obviously, I think, to a certain extent coming from the book as well. So it's also a credit to Hugh Howey. But it's very rare in television that you get a main character, which is what Juliet is. Like she is just the fulcrum on which the whole show sort of turns.
Hmm.
That they're not likable.
You
I
don't think she's likable?
No, I mean they're kind of everybody. So Martha's talking about this. Juliet's very stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. There's the whole bit in season one where they're repairing the generator where she just punches Coop
Yeah. Yeah.
because she's not doing like she's stubborn. She's quite inarticulate.
Yeah.
She's not good. She's not good around people. And that's fine. I
Yeah.
think I
She's
think
not a
this is
romantic hero.
exactly
Yeah.
exactly. This is not Luke Skywalker.
Mhm.
This is not Frodo Baggins.
Luke Skywalker is really whiny to start, and I say
Yeah,
this as a huge Star Wars fan.
yeah. But it's not Luke Skywalker. It's not
Yeah.
Frodo Baggins. It's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the hero's journey. Juliet is a good person. She's clearly a good guy, but she's not somebody. Put it this way: I wouldn't want to spend an evening with Juliet. I don't think. Like maybe if you're somebody like Shirley or Walker that gets to know her really well, or George, you do see
Mm-hmm.
that softer side of her. But that's not many people. And that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying that doesn't often get represented on television
Yeah.
in terms of like main character energy. This is the whole
Yeah.
thing about you need the main character needs to be likable in some way. And I think Juliet isn't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's actually kind of a breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because we have in this scene also like all of the characters who have gone orchestrated this whole thing to meet with her. Patrick and Danny are like, "Yeah, you forced us to do this thing with you, and then we both got thrown into judicial seclusion and have been on the run, and you ruined our lives. Just so you know, you ruined our lives." And Sandy's like, "Yeah, I used to work for you in the office upstairs, and you didn't ruin my life, but I still just don't like you." Oh, I always still think about her, Juliet saying to her, uh, about the eating babies.
Yeah,
But Sandy, I mean, she's a good character to keep around because she has worked up top. She has those connections, but also she's now working for a deputy station in the lower mids. So that gives her some inside access. That's obviously, I think, where she got that judicial right, Gear.
yeah. I did sort of go that Patrick Kennedy didn't immediately put it together, that it took him like a minute to put it together that the drugs were real. Like Sims
Okay.
literally told you all about this
Yeah,
last
but why
season.
would he believe Sims? So yeah, so he, just to recap, Patrick brings up the time that Sims offered him drugs to forget his wife's death, proposing that maybe this is the same. And Juliet admits that she's indeed being fed a bunch of pills. But I don't know. Like, I can understand Patrick Kennedy not taking Sims at his word.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess.
And it is interesting that, like, they are so wrong about her being okay outside. But
Yeah,
they are also so right about her being fed false memories. So it's
yeah.
like,
I mean, I think that this whole thing with the Billingses and Patrick Kennedy, it goes to show why from the point of view of keeping the silo running, the pact is so important,
hmm,
and the idea of like suppressing any knowledge of what the outside world was is so
mhm.
important
Yeah.
because because it's good. Like the idea of the silo. We've talked about this at length in previous seasons. The silo is in a natural environment,
Mhm.
so anytime you give people a any hint that the outside used to be better, at some point people are going to want to go outside.
Hmm.
So I think, like, from the point of view of keeping the silo functioning, I think, and they've done this on several occasions now. But I think the whole discussion of that Georgia book
Mhm.
it really illustrates why it's important that these relics are contained. Because you could say, like, oh, what would be the harm? But I think if you show people ocean, people are going to want to go to the ocean. If you show
Hmm.
people like forest, people are going to want to see forest, even if they can see outside through the windows that's not there. There's always the hope that it might be around the corner somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but also, yeah, I would think that the Camille or the algorithm would want Juliet to remember the outside bad part, but I guess it's a
Yeah.
slippery slope because once she remembers that, she remembers I didn't go into a hut. I crawled
And
over a bunch of dead bodies.
I did, I
That's
did,
memorable.
yeah, and I did, I like when she's looking out the cafeteria window later on, and you see Holston lying there as well,
Mhm.
just by that tree stump.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's Allison.
yeah.
Okay, I have two nits to pick with this scene.
Go on, pick
One
away.
one is that about this outside that Juliet didn't know the word birds until Solo taught it to her, which he knew from the vault from reading all the and all the stuff in the vault. Um, so how do Danny and Patrick know what birds are called? Huh?
That is a very good question. Yeah, no, that is a pretty bad continuity. That's
Well,
a pretty
it's
bad continuity error.
it's a nit probably most people wouldn't notice if I didn't pick at it. But I just remember so much that scene, yeah, in this last season when she's like telling her birds.
No, you're absolutely right.
My other thing, I don't know that this is so much a nit as rather I just like I'm curious to see when it comes to presumably we'll see like the silos being stocked or something at some point. And I'm wondering why would you mark the helmets with the silo numbers? Same for that hard drive, I guess. Why would it be marked with the silo numbers? Like, why aren't all the helmets the same in all the silos,
Yeah,
basically?
yeah, yeah. That is a good point.
That might have an explanation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, let's take one final break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the aftermath of this little meeting. In the marketplace, the fangirl who followed Juliet tells Camille and Billings that she will show them where Juliet was taken in exchange for one favor meeting Juliet. As raiders descend on the location, Kathleen Billings, Caitlin Zawes, whistles to warn the group in the storage room. Juliet steps out just in time, and the others lock the door behind her so the raiders can't get in. When they bust down the door, they're gone. The raider leader, Chris Emerson, played by Florian Clare, discovers a wall that is actually a door with a tunnel dug through the walls behind it. Back in the marketplace, Camille asks Juliet what they said to her, and Juliet tells her the truth, part of it at least, that Patrick wants Juliet to tell everybody it's safe outside. Juliet apologizes, and Camille tells her she needs to have a meet and greet with the fangirl. So, this whole thing about digging the tunnel behind this room makes me wonder, like, have they gone like all Shawshank Redemption all over the inner hallways of the silo?
Yeah, and the other thing that sort of struck me about that is, um, have they compromised like by digging tunnels where you're not meant to dig tunnels? I hope they haven't like compromised the structural integrity of the silo.
That's a good question. I hope they have an engineer in their team at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, because none of those three are.
Yeah. No. So it's like, and also, I just think it would be very funny if we got a scene with them digging tunnels and they just intersect with the miners at some point. Like, yeah. Oh, whoop.
Everybody just go back your own way.
Yeah, everybody just go. Yeah, so it's be another question. You didn't see anything. Look away.
So it's also worth noting, by the way, that this group is also looking for Lucas Kyle. So apparently he has not been seen since the rebellion. It's been 92 days, not that Patrick is counting. Where do we think he is?
I honestly don't know.
I mean, I can only think like the Digger Void because of the whole thing about Martha blocking it off. But that would mean he's with Martha, and Martha,
maybe
she tell you? I don't know.
Maybe he's in Martha's workshop. I mean,
I think if Martha was with him, she would have said something to Juliet maybe when they met.
But only that was in a very public place, and you still had Jerry the guard hanging around. So maybe she thought it was too dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, they want to find him because he was in the mines before becoming Bernard's shadow. And he was in the mines because Juliet is, again, ruining lives. And she showed him the hard drive, a red level relic, and he didn't report it. But what they want to know is, why did Bernard pull him out of the mines? So everybody looking for Lucas. What did you think about the fangirl interaction?
Yeah.
How do you enjoy this exclusive fan experience?
Did that? Yeah. So when she's talking about when she's got a copy of Juliet's tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Did that hurt? Not really. Well, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what it means? No, I don't either. So you've just got a meaningless series like that. Like when I say Juliet not being likable, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
I mean, but I like someone who is no nonsense.
That's true.
Through the bullshit. But I'll say on the one hand, like when the fangirl, she introduced herself as Juliet, I was like, ew. Like you don't do that to Juliet, especially. That's so gross. But when Juliet had that whole exchange about the tattoos, the Evelyn is her real name. She says, you know what? It means something because it comes from the person who saved the silo from self-destruction. So Evelyn's right. If she finds meaning in it in that way, then it doesn't matter what it meant to Juliet.
Yeah, then fair enough.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious if the fangirls are going to be coming back. It's been 2 episodes now. So are they a regular feature? Okay. Let's check in on the husband of the revolution. Billings goes home and finds his wife rebandaging her wrist and warns her that she should wear long sleeves until it heals because they're looking for a woman with an injured wrist. There is clear tension between the couple, with Kathleen not exactly feeling grateful that her husband hasn't, quote unquote, put his foot down about her rebel activities. But he says things have gone too far and he doesn't know what he can do if she is caught. So, yeah, you said you had some thoughts about the couple.
Sorry?
You said you had thoughts about the Billings relationship?
Yeah, like, I just like the Paul Billings. Paul Billings, I think, is my favorite character
Mm-hmm.
in Silo. Just because, like I've said before, because he is at the exact midpoint of the Simpsonard scale. Like
Hmm.
he could go in any direction.
He's like true neutral in the D&D scale. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, and I just think this struggle he is having with the pact, knowing that it was at least in part a lie, but also this very sort of human idea that there've got to be rules. There's got to be something that we live by.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some way of balancing order and justice, basically, and not to get like too meta, but I think that's kind of, you almost see that tension play out through Billings in that he is constantly trying to find where the right balance is between doing the right thing and keeping order in the silo.
Hmm.
And I think having that tension being brought home, you know, by that book, by that page out of that Georgia Torres book, I think is really messing with Billings,
Hmm.
because this is the other like cornerstone of his character. He's a family man,
Mm-hmm.
and this in the same way that Robert Sims is. And I think we talked about this last season. The only thing that's going to move Billings off the pact and off this idea of the need to maintain the rules, the need to maintain all, is family,
Hmm.
because that's really the so. Yeah, I didn't want to say too much about what's going on in this episode, but I think this episode sets up a whole series of possibilities for the Billingses really, really well. And like, yeah, they are. Paul Billings is definitely, by some distance, the most interesting character in the show for me at the moment.
Hmm. I understand that, and I think this scene does exemplify it because, we are reminded that this is Mister Memorized the Pact, won the Pact recitation competitions 4 times, I believe it was. So it's kind of like asking him to rewrite his Bible. Like that's a lot
Yeah,
mentally to take on.
that's a lot to put on one person.
Yeah. And but he's a complex person indeed because he does come across as slightly controlling toward his wife here. And I didn't like Kathleen first season. She really grew on me last season, and now she's gone full rebel. So I'm like, you're my girl. Um, so I can feel like why she would chafe at that. But on the other hand, the fact that he's ignoring the law at all, it's a huge deal for Billings. Like there's no better way that he could express how much he loves his wife than by looking away from what she's doing right now.
Exactly, exactly. And yes, I think what he's doing is controlling, but but I do think like Kathleen is being a bit naive. And I think Billings has a better sense, because don't forget Billings started out in judicial, so I think Billings has a much better sense of than Kathleen of just how bad things could get, just how quickly just how quickly things could go sideways for them. And
Hmm.
I don't. I think he is being controlling, but at the same time, I don't think Kathleen has properly thought through how dangerous what she's doing is.
Hmm. But also on the other hand, like, so she's like, you saw that page, and Billings, I guess he still hasn't told her that he tore the page out of an entire book and burned the rest.
Yeah, no, I guess not.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah,
So yeah, Kathleen is an addition in this story, and I have to say that at this point, I think she's a great one. I think it really adds a lot of complexity to Billings as a character,
yeah,
but she's also her own character too.
because you said Billings is like a much more passive character in the book.
Yeah, he does come like at the basically at the end of wool. So we can say that now because we're through that. When Lucas is actually going to be sent out to clean, because of the stuff that Juliet got him into, similar to this, but he's actually going to be sent out to clean instead of sent to the mines. And Billings, he ends up learning something, and that part has not really paid out yet, so I'll keep that to myself.
Okay. All
But
right.
he ends up learning something that makes him realize that Bernard's been lying about everything. So Billings is the one who's like, wait, I'm not sending out Lucas to clean, I'm sending Bernard out to clean.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
Okay. No, I'm saying careful not to
No,
spoil.
no, I
Careful
won't. I
not to
won't.
spoil me.
I won't. But yeah, so that is the point, and that's at the end of the first book where he really comes into his own more,
Yeah.
his balls drop, I suppose. All right. So a long day comes to an end. Returning home, Camille tells Juliet this whole incident better not happen again, and Deputy Jerry confronts her as well. First, for calling a mob of young women to attack him in the marketplace, but then he also admits that keeping Juliet under lock and key doesn't feel right either. He says that Juliet can tell him in the future when she wants to do something on her own, and his allegiance is to her over his mare over quote unquote Mrs. Sims. I think it's funny. She's like Camille, and he's like, no, Mrs. Sims. Be respectful. At home, Nurse Amy, Jacqueline Bersis, notes that Juliet's blood pressure is up and gives her quote unquote vitamins, which Juliet only pretends to take before spitting them down the sink. Juliet heads to the cafeteria with her evening guard, Deputy Hildy, Latoya Harding, and there she admires the stars. Another snippet of memory comes back to her, remembering Lucas showing her the W-shaped constellation in the sky. Meanwhile, Nurse Amy sneaks back into Juliet's apartment and finds the pill she spit into the sink, and Camille debriefs the algorithm, insisting that Juliet is getting back on track, now apologizing about hiding the note. The algorithm informs Camille that if Juliet's memory wipe doesn't take, it would be catastrophic. Removing her from the silo would also be catastrophic. The only hope is that the vitamin D plus hits the water supply before that happens. They have 2 days left.
Yeah.
So, yeah, are we on Team Deputy Jerry after this episode?
Yeah, I think we are on Team Deputy Jerry. He's a bit like another Diego Obvious. He's just trying to get through the day, He's just trying to make it from one shift to the next.
But be a moral man. He says he honors his badge and his wife. He threw that in the panic at the end. And my wife. Yeah, so the algorithm says it was unfortunate Juliet survived going outside, but the numbers show it should be okay to let her live, maybe even beneficial as long as her memory is reset. What do you think about this functioning of the algorithm and measuring these probabilities and scenarios and
putting it up in a nice, useful graph form?
Yes, very visual. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we really do need to find out who programmed the algorithm and what its deal is. And the only two people that have any chance of telling us that are Lucas, who we can't find, and Bernard, who's dead. So, unless we can find Lucas, we really don't have any hope of finding out what the algorithm is. The thing is, like Bernard said in the last season, the key attribute for a head of IT is a strong imagination.
Like curiosity, yeah.
Curiosity. I don't think Camille has that.
You don't? She's smart.
She's smart, but I don't.
But the thing is, Bernard didn't have it either. That was what was it that Judge Meadows said to him? That it was like him trying to imagine a color that didn't exist, was like him trying to think outside, like anything outside the pact.
Yeah, so I think Camille was a bit of an
She's more like Bernard.
She's more like Bernard, and I think she might be who the algorithm was sort of faced with as sort of the least bad option for head of IT. But for all Camille's intelligence and for all her cunning, I
Mm-hmm.
think these two episodes together have sort of illustrated to me that she might not be cut out to be the new Bernard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have to say in her defense, I know a lot of people love to hate on her, and I'm a Camille defender, but she's clearly, she has the moral drive that she's motivated to save the silo and obviously her family inside of it. But I did also get the feeling at the end, or at least the way it was framed by the algorithm, that there was something in Camille that wants to save Juliet's life as well. She's like, oh, I'd really rather not have to kill her.
Yeah. Because as far as we know, Camille was never killed anybody. I mean, Robertson's has. He's killed several people that we know of.
True.
But Camille never has, as far
including
as
his friend Marnes indirectly, but still.
Indirectly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so that is the episode. Any final thoughts overall?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether those barrels are going to suffer like something that slows them down, an accident or a collapse on the a weakened step on the stairs or something that slows them down. Because I'm not sure we've got. I think for everything to resolve in 2 days is perhaps being a bit optimistic, unless the episodes become like 24 and we're doing like an hour at a time. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
There's some nice barrels. It'd be a shame if something happened to them.
Yeah, I presume Helen and Daniel are going to team them up Woodward and Bernstein style to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Do you think anyone else will join them, like Anna, or I guess
maybe later on in the season, but not for now. Or maybe next season, but not for now. So yeah, I'm really intrigued how that slightly sort of awkward partnership is going to work after their non-date. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what if anything Charlotte remembers, and if she does remember something, does that put her in danger?
Yeah, good question. So we seem to have Sherlock's confirmation that they're still going strong.
Yes, yeah.
What other couple are you rooting for now?
I have a feeling that Daniel and Helen, despite the awkwardness of the non-date, will probably end not maybe this season, but maybe at the end of the show will end up as a couple. So I'm kind of hoping that happens.
Okay. What about in Silo 18?
Well, I mean, Silo
I guess
18.
we want like the Billingses to.
Yeah, I want the Billingses, and I want to see what's going on between the Simses as well, because we didn't get any of Robert this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens next week. Our full weekly coverage continues, including the weekly extras again in the subscriber feed. And we will do a feedback episode soon. We have already been getting some feedback in. So if you would like to have yours discussed as well, please send your thoughts and theories to woolshiftdustpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find that linked in the show notes. We'd also love for you to hop into the Discord and chat with us there, or me there. Luke, people have been tagging you in the Discord.
Oh, sorry. I will. Sorry.
But yeah, we have a chat per episode for Silo, and we have a separate chat for book spoilers there as well. And when it comes to emailing, I'm the only one who will see the emails, so feel free to send book spoilers, but then they will be discussed in the book club episodes. So speaking of the book club, welcome new Silas and Mrs. Sorby, and welcome back some previous Silasans. You all will have access to all of these episodes ad-free, plus bonus episodes, including the bonus spoiler cast that Abby and I are doing each week. This week, talking more about the story of Victor. And if you would like to have access to these as well, you can sign up via Supercast or Patreon. It's the same feed for both. I'll say the Supercast Silencing feed is the same as the Patreon feed. In Supercast, there's currently an extra stories in option for that includes both the Woolshift Dust Book Club and the Star Wars Canon Padawan Timeline podcast subscriber feed, which are bundled together at a discount for the stories in option. I'm looking into a way to see if I can offer this bundle option for Patreon as well. Also currently only on Supercast. If you don't want a monthly subscription where you have access to all of this, plus access to our other bonus episodes like holiday specials and Dune stuff and more Howie stories, things like that. You can just sign up for a season pass to the Silo season or seasons of your choice, and you'll just get the episodes for that season for a one-time fee. So, for example, you can have access to all the season 3 episodes for $10, or there are some options to combine seasons and even a triple pass option. You'll find that linked in the show notes. You can look through the options yourself and see what might be for you if you're interested. I'm also going to be looking into seeing how we can do something similar to the season pass option through Patreon as well. So stay tuned for that in the future. Although even if these options don't interest you, just a big thank you anyway to all of you that are listening. It means a lot to us. If you want to help us out, the best way you can do so for free is to just tell anyone else who's interested in Silo or who you're trying to get into Silo about our podcast so that they can listen along as well. And if you leave a nice rating and review wherever you're listening, that's also an enormous help in getting the algorithm that exists in our world to recommend us to more people. And this week's topic is, as I said, going to be the Book of Victor, or the story of Victor, or however he put it. I haven't come up with the title yet. And Luke, where else can they find you?
So I'm at Luke Middup on Blue Sky. That's my social media presence at the moment. I will pop into the Discord, I promise. So my other podcast is It Could Be Said, that I do with a couple of friends from university, Will Cooling and Simon Alvey. And this week we were talking about Keir Starmer's departure, imminent departure as UK Prime Minister, and Andy Burnham's equally imminent arrival. We were talking all things World Cup, and I was fanboying over Moby Dick because I am reading Moby Dick for the first time at the moment and really
and you're
quite enjoying it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've never read it. It's one of those classics. It's one of those ones that people tell me it's slow, and then, yeah. I read a lot of literature from that time, but often more like romantic with a capital R.
It reminds me very much of Dickens in that it will go on like 4-page long discussions.
I do like Dickens though. I mean, obviously you and I discuss Dickens, the Christmas stuff every year, but I do like his other stuff. Like Jude the Obscure was always a favorite of mine. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, for me, you can also find me on the Lorehounds feed, where we are, as I said, currently doing weekly The Vampire Lestat breakdowns. There's also weekly House of the Dragon breakdowns. I co-hosted the first 2 episodes, but now David's back taking it over with Jean. And Jean and I, we are squeezing it into this hot lore summer, too hot to lore, but we're both Supergirl fans, and we're going to be talking about it soon, and it's going to be fun and positive and blah to anyone who but definitely do check out the other podcasts on the network, including my own, the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast. Plus, we have a new affiliate in the network, Dungeons and Do-Rags, and they are also covering House of the Dragon on a weekly basis from a more, like, they call themselves like a barbershop setup, just like usually 4 dudes chilling, talking about dragons. One and a half of them knows the lore, and the others are like, "Wait, what's that guy again?" That's fun. Yeah,
I need to catch up on House of the Dragon actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watched the first episode, but I haven't finished watching the second and third yet.
Yeah. I liked personally the first episode was big majestic battle obviously, but I personally like the second and third better, but I think that's just 'cause
Okay.
it gets into like more the character stuff and the politics and. And do also check out, of course, Never Mind the Music, where psychology meets music. You can find a preview of their podcast in this very feed if you want to check it out. And stay tuned for more on a new podcast coming at the end of this month, Cosmere Corner, about Brandon Sanderson's books and soon-to-be movies and TV. Luke, do you have any final thoughts to throw out there before we go?
No, I think you've milked me dry of all my insight.
I love when you position yourself as a cow. All right, then we'll call it a day there. We'll see you next week. And until then, you'll find me hanging out with Lucas in the digger room, waiting for everyone else to find us.